Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. How are you? Friday is here again. It's time for a beer. Excuse me. I've been sat looking at that pint for the last 5 minutes since I poured it, thinking, no, I'll wait until the stream starts. Dear me, that was necessary. Anyway, how are we all doing? Let's kick things off in the usual fashion by having a look at the register. Who's in? I suspect I already know the names I'm going to call out here. You've been having a good old chat in the chat. It's a scroll rather a long way there. We've got David Evans first in. Then Robster Boy, Johnny H, Johnny Random, Jimmy James, and scrolling down, we've got Michael Palmer and Robster Boy. You are a gentleman and a scholar. Thank you very much for that super chat. Joel Davidson and Vincent Brennan, Wilson Jones, Peter Collins, Lawrence Hastings. As I say, all the names I usually kind of read out this time on a Friday. Grandpa Joe, Anton, Danny Hancock, Chip Young, David Evans again, and also got Bottleneck Bob. How are you, mate? Long time no see. And Chris Otterwell's in, and who else we got? Scrolling down, you've been having a good old chat there, haven't you? Unfortunately, I'm usually too busy. I go right up to the wire before the live stream, kind of getting stuff done. So otherwise, I would like to join in. Then Luke's in, Sargi's in, Paul Trainer, the resident bass player, Rexomatic, evening Rex, or I guess it's must be morning for you, because I see you just mentioning you're having breakfast. Incidentally, thank you to all of the stateside viewers for realising that you've changed your clocks and turning up anyway. How many of you got confused? It's thrown a couple of lessons askew for me this week. That has, but hey ho, such is life. Simon M is in, and Gordo Canuck, Cal B, Derek Clacton, 60s man, John Channing, Colin Falcon, evening mate, Phil, Dr. Gomez, Henry Clooney, and who else we got? Rob Bald, Ian Clark, Nigel Arthur, and who else we got down here? Malcolm Spillett. Have I already said you? Apologies if I have. But anyway, all the usual suspects, basically. And yeah, it's come around quick again, hasn't it? I was gonna do a live unboxing tonight, but unfortunately, the guitar that was supposed to be here today isn't here yet. I've just looked on the DHL app. Apparently, it's going to be here about 7:00 tonight. So the unboxing will be, not a live one, which is probably just as well, really, because I don't think I could move as fast in real time as I do when I'm unboxing on a pre-recorded video. Yes, they're talking about videos. Let's have a rundown of what we've got. What we've got coming up this week. We have a Saturday video this week. Don't often do them, but there's one this week going out at 10 a.m. UK time in the morning, where you see me shopping for a guitar. That's right. It was an itch I had to scratch. There's a type of guitar that I've been looking at for a while now. Not a guitar that I traditionally get on particularly well with, but I've been thinking, I wonder. And anyway, basically, I thought, why not? And I've bought one. It's supposed to be turning up today, and that will be the video that you see me shopping for it. And then when it turns up, the unboxing and shakedown and everything. Anybody got any ideas of a type of guitar I've never particularly got on that well with that that I might have bought? Any thoughts on that? I see Geronimo has nailed it in one, an SG. Yes, I bought myself an SG. And I don't know what it is. Every time I pick one up, I always think this feels a bit weird and a bit odd and everything's in the wrong place and so on. But I don't know. I've just been gassing for one lately. So there's an SG turning up allegedly at some point today. Then on Sunday, the Sunday video, let me just lean. Oh, no, you can't see it. Let me go and get it. Hang on. Sunday's video is the review of this guitar. It had a bit of a kind of cameo role in Tuesday's video. This is the Harley Benton SC DLX, belongs to a friend of mine called Peter, who's loaned me it to do a review of. Really, really properly nice guitar, you know, stainless steel frets and all manner of goodies going on here, Goto hardware. So Sunday is going to be the review of that guitar. Then on Monday, I do apologise, I forgot who it was, but somebody has been, just dropping hints in the chat over the past few live streams or thereabouts, asking for a Steve Clark solo, Def Leppard, basically. So that's what's coming up on Monday. That'll be the Monday solo analysis. Then what else we got? Tuesday, yes. Tuesday, well, it's part 2 of that Harley Benton thing where last week, or this week, the previous Tuesday anyway, I did 5 reasons to love Harley Benton guitars, and I said I was going to balance it out with 5 reasons to not love them, and that is the video that's coming up on Tuesday. Then on Wednesday, we are continuing with our journey into blues rhythm guitar techniques, and I've got a little video about ninth chords on Wednesday, and very, very versatile chords that just sound really nice in a blues situation. Thursday, we are looking at excuse me, hold on. While I move you over here, we're looking at the Spark amp. I finally got one that works, and that will be my sort of first impressions video of it, and let you know how I'm getting on with it. And then that's Thursday. Then Friday, we're back on the beer again. Speaking of beer, this evening, chaps, I am on the Heineken. It's becoming my favourite tipple at the moment. I find it most refreshing, it has to be said. Excuse me. Where are we? Let's see what we've been talking about in the chat. Henry Clooney there saying, I use a vintage SG Magic. Yeah, that's the vintage VS6, isn't it? I've had one of those. If you dig back into the dark and distant past of my videos on YouTube, back to the times when I had hair, you'll see a video I did for a tune years ago, a tune called Slapshot, and that was recorded on a vintage VS6, the SG copy. And it was a lovely guitar. It was just an SG, and I didn't necessarily get on with SGs, but I'm gonna give them another go. How about a drunk unboxing? That would be fun, wouldn't it? Yes. So where are we? What else have I missed? See, we've got Podrick Floyd in. Nice to see you, mate. Squire J. Maskis Jazzmaster, highly recommended. Well, yes, you know my feelings on Fender offset guitars. Although, watch this space is all I'm saying. There might be something of that nature coming up in the next couple of weeks. Just saying. Yes, so I'll leave it at that. Sorry, chaps. It was. The Heineken doesn't give a very good flake head, does it? So Michael Broadhead, what you're saying there? Rick Beato recently did a video about his favourite songs with only 2 chords in them. Here's your chance to trump him, John, with a vid about your favourite 1-chord songs. Yeah, I saw that video, and far be it from me to criticise Rick Beato, because I don't intend to do that, but there was at least one song in that video that had, in that 2-chord song video, that had 3 chords in it. Dreams by Fleetwood Mac. Yes, it goes back and forth between F and G for most of the song, but in the middle section there's an A minor. Count them: F, G, A minor. That's 3 chords. Oh, Irish Stew's going to play my SG at band practice in about 20 minutes. Go and make a racket, mate. Have some fun. If you like a 335, an SG should suit. Well, yeah, I suppose they're both from the sort of Gibson stable, aren't they? But it's the fact that even on a 335, going to that from like a Telecaster or something like that, everything feels relatively normal. It's just on an SG, because the neck and the body meet at the very final fret. There's just, just everything feels a little bit further that way. And, you feel like you need to call a taxi to get to the volume and tone controls. They're that far away down there, bunched up in a little kind of cluster. But I don't know, it's just a guitar I've been admiring of late and thinking, you know what? I haven't had an SG style guitar in quite some time. Time to give them another go. I mean, I love Telecasters, but my first encounter with a Telecaster back in the 80s left me decidedly unimpressed. So, your tastes change is the long and the short of it, and I'm going to go and see if my tastes have changed when this SG turns up. As I say, it was going to be an unboxing. I think a guitar that actually I could never learn to love, though, is that one that's all over YouTube at the moment. All of the people who've got many, many, many more subscribers than me are all, all of these channels that all seem to be kind of saying, look what I've got, this new Fender Meteora or whatever it's called. God, is it me, or is that just an ugly looking guitar? It's as ugly as a bulldog chewing a wasp. I just a lumpen, ungainly shape to it. It belongs in that box of ugly with Jazz Masters and Moss-Wright guitars, as far as I'm concerned. Might be beautiful to play, I'm sure it will be, but just, you have to, there has to be some aesthetic pleasure to, looking at the guitar, and for me, there just isn't in that. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. I understand that, and we all are allowed to be different, but that Meteora, just for me, is just an abomination. There, I've said it. So there we go. Mike's in CGS. You haven't got one. Well, maybe you should ask him for one, Mike. Maybe if it floats your boat, mate, go and ask him for one. You probably get away with it. What about a Flying V, says Ravi. I've had V-style guitars before. I think the last one I had was way back when I first started doing the Zoe's Place thing, where I was buying the Harley Benton guitars a lot. And I had a Harley Benton something or other. It was basically a Flying V. And for what it was nice. It didn't do a great clean sound, but then again, I bought it from the category on Toman's website where it said heavy guitars. Show it a kind of a high gain amp sound, and it absolutely loved it. But it suffered from the oh, you don't want one, Mike? No, me neither, mate. It suffered from that thing that all V's have, which is that they are, well, not impossible to play sitting down, but you've got to do that thing of wedging the lower kind of thing between your legs, and it's not an ergonomically pleasing design. The Flying V looks cool, granted. Andy Powell from Wishbone Ash. He's made a career out of his SG, hasn't he? Michael Schenker springs to mind as well. But they look cool and they're fine if you're playing standing up. But if like me, you spend most of your time on your backside these days playing to a webcam, then they're not the most pleasing of guitars to play. Michael's saying the Revstar 2 is all over YouTube right now. I want to like it, but then again, I wanted to like the Hyped Spark 2. Yeah, well, spoiler alert. I mean, here's the thing, right? As Patreon subscribers, as I'm sure many of you are, you get the podcast every month. I've just been recording April's podcast today, and I'm talking about the Spark in that. For me, I think it was marketed badly. Who am I to say that, given how many of the sold, about a bazillion of them. But, you look at that advert that used to come up at the beginning of all of those YouTube videos, say hello to Spark, and then it would go through all of like the fancy bells and whistles stuff that it would do, like the smart jam function and the jam tracks and all of that sort of stuff. Right. None of those work. I'm just going to come out and say it now. This is a spoiler for me Thursday video, but none of those things work properly. Especially that thing where you play some chords into it and it picks up on the chords and creates a jam track based upon the chords that you've played. It doesn't work. If you change chords halfway through a bar, it confuses it. If you show it a major seventh chord or an augmented chord or, a minor 7 flat 5, then, it confuses the hell out of it. Thank you, Paul. You're a gentleman, mate. So, it doesn't work. And I had a student here today with his Spark amp, and he was wanting to learn the Ballad of John and Yoko by the Beatles, right? So we did the kind of thing where you search for the music on the app and, and it comes up. And, I'm looking at these chords that it's displaying that it thinks are in the Ballad of John and Yoko. And I'm thinking, well, that chord's not in the song and that chord's not in the song and that chord, where have they got that from? So it's like that chordify thing as well. Where, again, it'll listen to a song and tell you what chords are in the song. No, it won't. It always gets it wrong. Okay, so getting back to the Spark was very much marketed on those points. What it should have been marketed on are the tones it creates. I mean, I've got mine here now, and I've pretty much got it dialed in. I'm not using a fraction of a percentage of what it's capable of, but then again, I don't need it. I need a clean sound. I need a crunchy kind of vintage classic rock bluesy overdrive sound and a big high gain lead sound. I've got those three sounds dialed in. Just tape it all down and forget it. Okay, that's what I'm using it for, and the sounds that it can produce, if you know how to look for them, are absolutely stellar. I find. I'm really, really properly happy with it. It's just that, how many other people haven't bought that amp because it's marketed on all those kind of bells and whistles, which don't really work anyway. And, certainly in my experience, they don't work. They don't work anyway. And, they're forgetting to mention that actually it's a great sounding amp. That's just my take on it anyway. I've been blethering long enough. Have you tried the Harley Benton Fusion T? No, I haven't. I keep thinking about grabbing one because, let's face it, it is rather similar in appearance to a certain other guitar. This is the gratuitous shot of Blondie. Every live stream I pull that out. I've got some updates for you on that wireless that you saw me unboxing yesterday as well. Check out the LTD-AS or the ESP-AS and have a beer. Thank you, Beer Hounds Beer Reviews. You are a gentleman and a scholar, mate. I will certainly do that. But yeah, I keep thinking about getting a Harley Benton Fusion T, because if nothing else, it's very similar to my signature guitar, and it would be a good backup. But then again, the other part of me thinks, yeah, but because it's very similar to your signature guitar, you probably it's always just going to be sat there in a corner because it's not going to compare with it. So there is that. I've played a few of the Fusion guitars. One of my students has got one of the more kind. I got one of the first ones that came out, where it had a bit of a shonky trem on it, and it needed a bit of tweaking to get it working. It was a nice guitar, but the modern the S-type ones are pretty damn good. It has to be said. Anyway, yes, wireless. The Legato wireless. You can see it's plugged in at the moment. I'm just going to switch it on, and this has been getting used since about 8 o'clock this morning when I first took it off charge, and you know, still going strong. That is pretty much the story of it. I usually take it off charge first thing on the morning, about, as I say, 7:30-ish or thereabouts. And oh, thank you, Brad Matthews. Let's put you up on screen for that. Very rarely use fancy things on my Sparks, just that you use the tones, which are pretty good, and the drums for practicing timing. Cheers. Well, yeah, that's pretty much my take on it, mate. And thank you for the super chat as well. Yeah, so those cheap and cheerful wireless things there, I've been using them for a couple of weeks now since I recorded that unboxing video, and they've never let me down. I did try and, kind of be really sort of silly and think, okay, I wonder if I can take the guitar downstairs and it'll still pick it up. It sort of was, but it was going a little bit. If anybody remembers the 70s comedian Norman Collier, it was going a little bit like that. He used to have this thing where he used to kind of pretend to with a microphone that was cutting out like that. That was his kind of comedy thing. And when you kind of leave the room, when you've got sort of bricks and mortar between you and the amp, it does get a little bit broken up. But in terms of longevity and latency and battery life and everything, I'm loving it. It just feels so liberating to not. It's like a dog being let off the lead, not having to worry about the chair running over the cables or anything like that. It's working great for me, I've got to say. What we all been talking about while I've been blithering. Sorry, I've been off on one quite a bit tonight, haven't I? Kind of going at some length into the answer. I haven't been having to be able to catch up with much of the chat. I use the Rowan wireless system, but you find after a while they don't hold the charge as long. Well, the way I see it is like this. If I can get, longer than I typically get out of a guitar lead, out of this wireless system, then I'm winning. Because as I said in the video yesterday, I think it was yesterday, wasn't it? I am the Grim Reaper when it comes to guitar cables. I just kill them. So far, I mean, I'm prepared to be, to kind of update my views should the facts change. But so far, everything is working swimmingly. Dave Lewis is saying my Harley Benton wireless system works all around the home and down the road. Good for you, mate. That might be a thing, actually. It might, because they're not exactly wallet busting items to buy. I might get another system and do a sort of a comparison to see how like various different brands compare. Now I've broken the ice with them. Oh, Marco, you agree with me, mate? I saw that Fender guitar on the Antons channel the other day, and yes, it's an ugly bugger of a thing. I've got to agree with you. I mean, as I say, each to their own. And, you know, Fender brought that model out, oh gosh, when was it? About 4 years ago, as part of their, was it, you know, kind of parallel universe, or, you know, one of those kind of range of oddities that they do. And, you know, it obviously got traction. It obviously sold in enough numbers for them to think, yeah, let's make this a regular production model. So enough people are kind of liking it and wanting it that obviously they've done that. I'm just saying, I think it's absolutely dog ugly. I got to tell you. Where are we? Let's have a look. Oh, what you're saying there, Anton? Comparison Nady 101 system, late 80s, used to knock out the TV signal down the street versus Bluetooth. Yeah, God, that was that Nady, or was it Nadi or Nadi? I was never sure how to pronounce it, but that was the go-to wireless system for the 80s, wasn't it? Jason Carter, what are you saying there, mate? Well, first of all, thank you. Haven't been around these past weeks for one reason or another. Thanks for this little oasis in a messed up world. Well, thank you very much. You are a gentleman and a scholar. I just do what I do, mate. You know, I just turn up here on a Friday and talk rubbish for an hour, basically. I never have any sort of script or any idea of what I'm going to talk about. It's just a stream of consciousness that sort of blurbles out of me. It was much the same when I used to, just on a little tiny local radio station around here, I used to do Friday drive time show, and I used to do a late night jazz show as well. And you used to see the other presenters coming into the studio with, like, you know, kind of notebooks and pads full of things that they were going to talk about in the show. And I just used to turn up and think, well, no, I know what music I'm going to play, and I'm just going to talk about the music. And, you know, it was just like, it just used to evolve. The show just used to go on. And apparently it was... The Friday Drive show was one of the highest listened to shows on the station. So I guess must have some sort of talent for talking entertaining rubbish. What you're saying? Henry Clooney was a rock DJ. Yeah, I think I only did the jazz gig because nobody else wanted it. Do you know what I mean? It was like, yeah, ask that bald lad. He knows about jazz. See if he'll do it. So you bagged 2 Rolling Stones tickets for today for Anfield Stadium in June, about 100 quid each. But now the cheapest is 150 each on Ticketmaster if you want them, grab them quick. Well, there's some sound advice. Yes. There's a question for you. Is it still the Rolling Stones without Charlie? You know, there you go. But then again, you know, was it still the Rolling Stones without Brian? Was it still the Rolling Stones without Mick Taylor? It will get to a point, won't it, with some of these bands where there are literally none of the original members still alive, and will it just keep on going as a franchise? And Thin Lizzy kind of did that, didn't they? You know, because maybe they still are, but there was that side project, Black Star Riders, which is a fantastic, fantastic band, by the way. I had their debut album. Don't think I've got it anymore. It was one of those that slipped through the cracks when I went from CDs to MP3s. But yeah, Thin Lizzy are still kind of, or last time I heard, they were still kind of out there touring with. What's his name? The fella who used to be the lead singer in The Almighty, Ricky Warwick. Yeah, that's him. They were still out there doing stuff under the Thin Lizzy banner. I think Brian Downey was the only original member. So it will get to a point where, you know, there are no surviving members left, but the band name will continue. That's my prediction. You know, it will still kind of go on in much the same way as how long is it since Tom Clancy died? But there are still new Tom Clancy novels coming out, you know. Where are we? Let me see what I've been missing in the chat. As I said, I'm in very talkative mood tonight, so apologies if I'm going on a little bit. Anyone want to vote for P90, yay or nay? Well, for me, it's got to be an absolute yay. I'm loving that little this little Harley Benton P90 guitar. Thank you, Michael. By the way, you're a gentleman. I'm loving playing that at the moment. It's excuse me, just grabbing another beer. Fantastic. Here's one. I'll throw that back at you. Filtertron pickups, yay or nay? They are not a pickup you see on a lot of guitars, and I think, well, you might remember that Harley Benton Cabronita style Telecaster that I had with the Filtertrons on it. I still miss that guitar. It was I only, as I've said before, that and the HB35. I sold both those guitars to pay a vet's bill for the dog, and I miss that Filtertron sound. So yeah, that might be another one to keep an eye open for on the channel. Anti-Flake 2, the site. Sorry, guys, I'm not seeming to be able to pour a kind of big foamy head at the moment. I shall have to get some tins of Carling in, just because that thing used to just foam up like nobody's business. It was ridiculous beer, that. Anyway. Bottleneck Bob saying yeah to Filtertrons, and 100% yeah to P90s. It seems that the consensus of opinion excuse me, I'm breaking these teeth in for the dog. It seems the consensus of opinion is that Filtertrons and P90s are, very much in vogue with my audience. What's that up there? I'm just thinking. John, do you think straight through necks are better than bolt-on? Well, there's three methods really of constructing a guitar, isn't there? There's through neck guitars, and there's glued in neck guitars, and there's bolt-on guitars. And the received wisdom is that they all have different sounds. But then there was one quote from a Paul Reed Smith interview years ago in probably Guitarist magazine, where Paul Reed Smith said to whoever was interviewing, because they were talking about this kind of thing, he said, "See that Strat over there?" He says, "If I took the neck off that and then put some glue in the neck pocket and then put the neck back on, so now it was a glued-in neck, how much would that have changed the sound?" And it does make you think, well, it's probably not that much, really, when you think of it like that. So I don't know. I mean, personally, myself, I think Leo Fender was onto something when he came up with, as I said in the video what I did about influential guitars, the bolt-on Revolution, because it makes a guitar much easier to maintain and repair. If you can whip the neck off a guitar, even if it's got the most dreadful problems with the neck, the worst case scenario is that you throw the neck away. If you've got a Les Paul or a Firebird, like through neck guitar, and there's a problem with the neck, you potentially having to go throw the whole guitar away. So certainly from that perspective, I think I would probably go bolt on. But then again, I've just, as I say, I'm currently waiting for the delivery of an SG, which is a set neck guitar. So I don't know. There are differences, and it's like, do you prefer raspberry jam or strawberry jam? Well, they're different, Sorry, I'm getting splinters in me bum here from sitting on the fence, aren't I? Yeah, I'm with you on that one, Craig. I love a P90 for the neck pickup. Let me just go and grab it. This is an absolutely astounding guitar. This Yamaha Pacifica 311H. That neck pickup on this is the best Texas blues sounding pickup that you could ever imagine. It's just got that, the thing that Stevie Ray Vaughan used to do, where he would kind of get that big ballsy sound out of a neck pickup, neck single coil. Now his method of doing that was to play on like 13 gauge strings, ridiculously heavy gauge strings. For us mere mortals without his superhuman abilities, the only way you can really get anywhere close to that sound is have a beefier single coil pickup, and a P90 is just the mutt's nuts for that kind of sound. It just works beautifully for it. So yeah, whenever I want to do anything that's kind of low down, mean, dirty, brass knuckle Texas blues, then that tends to be the guitar I reach for. I see we're talking about through necks here. Dash Shaft is saying, all my neck throughs are laminated construction. Don't expect problems with wood movement. No, that is the one thing with doing it that way, I suppose. And what else we got to say? I see someone was mentioning Filtertrons here. Paul Jameson, I got my eye on a Gretsch with Filtertrons, reasonably priced. Yeah. A lot of the modern Gretches, the kind of the not exactly entry level, but the kind of import Gretches, the sort of the reasonably priced ones is what I'm saying. Those pickups, they call them Broadtrons, don't they? And they're just basically regular humbuckers that are dressed up to look like Filtertrons. It's because if you look at them, they're just regular sized humbuckers. So I'm not entirely sure how close to Filtertrons they sound. Did anyone watch the private guitar and kit auction that Ben from Crimson Guitars previewed earlier this week with the 59 Gibson? I've seen that video in my YouTube feed, but as yet I haven't had a chance to sit and watch it because I've had a bit of a busy week. But yeah, I'll be I love watching Ben. He's He's just the mad professor of the luthiery world, isn't he? He's just, you never know what he's going to do, but he always pulls it off exquisitely. Streamliner series, thank you, Vincent. That's the ones. That's what I couldn't remember. Well, let's have a look, see what I've been missing. Again, scrolling up. John, unless you take it to Victor at Fret Friend to fix a twist on my 70. Okay, right. So you're plugging somebody there who's a genius with fixing twisted necks on ones that you can't unbolt. Fair enough. Where are we? Guitarist Magazine did a single pickup shootout. They got everything from a pseudo acoustic to ZZ Top from a Les Paul Jr., just changing the volume and tone controls. I think I remember that. Yeah, that was wasn't that Neville Martin? Who did that? I certainly remember like on some kind of Les Paul Jr. or Les Paul Special type guitar with a single pickup one. I always get them mixed up. Where he was talking about or demonstrating that you could get like an acoustic-ish kind of sound to it, certainly a piezo acoustic kind of sound out of it. And it was a bit of an eye-opener for me. It was, it's the thing that, when PRS brought out that, that single P90 SE guitar, was it the SE1 or something like that? I always thought that there was a huge missed trick there because it didn't have a tone control. It only had a volume control, and on a single pickup guitar, you use your tone control as your pickup selector. If you want a neck pickup sound, then you use your tone control to roll off the treble. So I just didn't really understand why they did that, but hey, I guess they know their business better than I do. Oh, I tell you what, that's going down rather well tonight. It could get messy by the end of the evening. Where are we? Great bit of trivia. The only member of ZZ Top not to have a beard was was called Beard. Yes, Frank Beard. Yeah, I remember commenting on that back in the 80s. Who else here, by the way, in the UK, where, you know, when you get to the final letter of the alphabet, we say Z rather than Z. When you first heard of that band, probably in the 80s, and you probably read about them in Kerrang magazine or something like that, how many of you, like I did, initially thought that they were called ZZ Top? I certainly did. Is that just me that's being a bit dense? Another band like that whose name I got wrong for a couple of years, King's X. You know, because in the UK, King's with an X next to it is an abbreviation for King's Cross, you know, the station in London. So that was another little faux pas that I committed, you know. Francis Rossi of Status Quo is the only original member of that band, and Ian Pace, the drummer for Deep Purple, is the only original member of that band left. I guess you're right, yeah. You know, certainly I was aware that Francis Rossi was the only original member of Quo left. So what happens when he goes? Will Quo still be Quo? And thinking about it, yeah, you're right about Ian Pace, because, you know, Nick Simper was the original bass player, and he's not, you know, and then Roger Glover came along. Was it Rod Evans was the original singer? So, yeah, out of that original lineup of Rod Evans, Nick Simper, Ian Pace, John Lord, you know, Ian Pace is the only surviving member. I suppose, though, you think of Deep Purple and you think of the classic Mark II lineup. I certainly do. I will preface that by saying that, you know, I think the current lineup with, you know, Steve Morse, I'm sorry, but I think it's a great lineup. I think it's as strong as the best of the Blackmore years. But yeah, but it's, having said that, I suppose the classic Mark II lineup, you've still got Ian Pace and Roger Glover and Ian Gillan, haven't you? So that's three of the original surviving members from what you think of as the classic Deep Purple lineup. But yeah, I'll take your point, mate. Quite a few bands where there are several versions. I saw The Beat in Auckland, and the singer was Rankin Roger, not Dave Wakeling, says Rob Bald. Yeah. That was all part of that two-tone stuff from the early 80s, wasn't it? Never really got into that. I think it's something to do with the fact that I was at school at the time. You know, I was probably, let's say, 1982. I was 15 years old. That was sort of the height of that kind of music. And certainly in this part of the world, music was a very tribal kind of thing. It was the mods and rockers kind of thing. You know, and the music that you listened to defined the clothes that you wore, and, you know, the people that you hung out with. And because I was into rock music, I was never really, you know, kind of hanging around or listening to all of the ska sort of stuff. I just wasn't part of that crowd, really. Are Phil Rudd and Angus Young the only AC/DC originals? Possibly, yeah. Do you know what? I think you might have hit upon something there. Are the Shadows still together? Well, I don't know. They keep doing farewell tours, don't they? Yeah, I think it was sort of fairly well illuminating that there was that BBC documentary a few years ago, The Shadows at 60, and they all got together, but Hank was never with the other guys. It was like Hank. I do know that Hank and Bruce had a big falling out, perhaps more than one. But just during that documentary where it was supposed to be like a reunion and a retrospective of them, Hank and the other guys never really appeared in the same room together, which I thought was a bit it raised an eyebrow, certainly for me anyway. Where are we? Yeah, Time Prophet. He's been kicked out, but I think he's back with them now. I think he is. I'm prepared to be argued with on that, but I think he was fired and came back, and maybe more than once. But I certainly remember that court case that was in the news. But hey, Hank was in Australia, says 60s man. Yes, but I'm sure he could have afforded the flight. Did Bruce half-inch the red Strat, says Jeff Rock. Yes. Famously, the Shadows, or Hank Marvin, was the custodian of the first ever Fender Stratocaster in the UK, allegedly. And it was bought for him by Cliff Richard. And Bruce Welch borrowed it years ago, and it's never found its way home. But then again, Hank Marvin has a signature Fender Stratocaster, and Bruce Welch doesn't. So, but it's got to be worth a pretty penny, that guitar now. If that ever comes up for auction, that'll be one to watch, really. I'm prepared to go out on a limb here and say that Hendrix's Strat that I think when was that auctioned in 1990 or thereabouts. Hendrix's, the Woodstock Strat fetched a ridiculous amount of money. I think when that Fiesta Red Shadows Strat eventually does come up for auction, because chances are it will. I think it will break all records. That's my prediction anyway. Just prepared to be proven wrong. Where are we saying? Oh, talking about original members left. Anti-Flake 2, the flattening. Yes, I'm sorry. I'm doing my best for you, chaps. What about the original Burns Marvin? Yeah, I suppose, but I just don't think that's as iconic as Hank's Strat. It just, I don't know. It wasn't. You think of the Shadows and you think of Apache and you think of them doing the walk and you think of them, and in my mind you picture them playing the Strat. And I think the only reason they went to Burns guitars was because they were just offered like a boatload of money to do it, I think. I think it was instructive that when the Shadows made their comeback in the late 70s, when they started doing, the Cavatina, the Deer Hunter theme, and they did, Ghost Riders in the Sky and stuff like that. Hank's on top of the pops in his spangly, sparkly jacket with his big glasses, and he's playing a Strat again. So, I think he's always been a Strat guy, really. Dweezil Zappa sold a Hendrix Strat for stupid money. Yeah, he did. The thing is, he is something like those guitars. The kind of iconic guitars that have been owned by a particular musician that get auctioned off. How many of them do you ever hear of again? they're just getting locked in a bank vault and, or put in a glass case, and they're never getting played again. The one exception I can think of for that is the Gary Moore, Peter Green, Les Paul that Kirk Hammett, he takes it out and he plays it on stage. Maybe not as a regular guitar. It's like it's there for special occasions, but it is getting played and enjoyed, which I think is fantastic. It pains me to think that Eric Clapton's finest guitar tone that he ever got was Blackie, that mongrel kind of bits and pieces Strat he put together. That's just hung on a wall in a hard rock cafe somewhere now, and a guitar that good deserves to be played. Clapton says he retired it because, it was getting old and it was getting tired. Presumably he was meaning that the frets were getting worn and what have you. Refret it, just keep it living as an instrument. But hey, it's up to everybody to do what they want with the guitars. But I just think it's a bit of a shame when an iconic guitar that has created some fantastic music and appeared on great records just becomes an ornament. Really, that's my 2 penneth anyway. Let's have a look. See what I've been missing in the chat. Oh, Bob's saying, the first time I saw them on TV, they were all using burns that matched. Yeah, the thing is, Bob, not to put too fine a point on it, mate. You're a little bit older than me, so I don't remember that performance. My first memories of the Shadows are Hank playing that sort of, well, it was a black and white Strat then because it was in black and white TV in those days. And then in the late 70s, he was playing a Strat again. I don't have a lot of memories of Hank playing the Burns guitars. It's just one of those guitars I don't really associate with him, even though he used it. It was his own signature model, and he used it for quite a while. What are you saying there, Kieran? I had my 1070S acoustic refretted by Scott Guitars, put new life into it. Yeah, this is it. My main guitar from about 1990 to 2004 or thereabouts was a Japanese 60s reissue Fender Strat in Sonic Blue. It was a lovely, it had EMG pickups in it. I put those in because I had a bit of a thing for EMGs at the time. And when I first got the guitar and played it, it was nice. But then I took it to the legend that was Jim Cairns. Sadly missed Jim Cairns, local guitar tech and luthier. And he refretted it for me with jumbo gauge wire. And that guitar was an absolute beast. And I absolutely adored it. If there's another guitar along with the Gordon Smith, I mean, my first Gordon Smith that I regret selling, it's probably that one. Just the frets are the playing interface on the guitar, and if you've got a guitar where it just doesn't quite feel right, then sometimes just new frets. I mean, it's not exactly a cheap option, but it's cheaper than buying a new guitar. That can be the thing that brings the guitar to life, certainly. Where are we? Let's see what I've been missing. Now, there's a good point there. Wonder what happened to Buddy Holly's Strat. Yes. That's again another one of those iconic Stratocasters, isn't it? Because you think about 50s rock and roll, and I said this, in that sort of influential guitars video that I did. 50s rock and roll. Chuck Berry was playing the Gibson semi-acoustic. Eddie Cochran was playing a Gibson semi-acoustic. Cliff Gallup was playing a Gretsch. You know, there weren't many 50s rock and rollers who were playing Fender guitars. I mean, James Burton playing a Telecaster, but Buddy Holly was certainly the kind of the poster boy for the Strat in the rock and roll era. And you would kind of think that, yeah, we should know more about what's happened to that guitar. Maybe it's well documented. Maybe we're just kind of, poorly informed and don't know. But it's, yeah, I shall look into that. That I'm always on the lookout for stuff to talk about in videos, and that might be a video to look up. You know, the top 5 Tuesday, 5 guitars that we don't know where they are anymore. You know, that might be one to look at. Anyway. Probably got lost in the plane crash, says Dave Evans. Yes, good point. Gary Busey bought Buddy Holly's Strat, apparently. No, now there's a film I haven't watched in donkey's years. The Buddy Holly story with Gary Busey. Is that the only film where he didn't play a villain, Gary Busey? Because he seems to... Every other film he's been in, he's been like the bad guy, hasn't he? So... that's great movie as well, you know, good sort of, you know, kind of biopic kind of film. I remember having that on VHS years ago. Okay, so now we have the iconic guitar. Now what about the amp? Now there's a thing, yeah. I should really do a video on, influential amps, shouldn't I? That would be one to talk about, yes. As I say, I'm always... back when we first went into like this whole kind of crazy pandemic lockdown kind of situation, I went from doing 2 videos a week to doing 5 videos and a live stream every week. So I'm sort of I'm chewing through material at some ferocious rate at the moment, and I'm always on the lookout for ideas for videos, and that's a cracking one, mate. Yes, I shall look into that. Buddy Holly Strat located. That'll be the day. Thank you. Dudumsh. Where are we? Let's see what I've been missing in the chat just for the last few minutes. Kevin Harty Music. Are you going to review that blue Harley Benton Les Paul type behind your right elbow, John? Only joined the chat, so apologies for you. Said yes, that, mate. Where are we? This guitar you're talking about here. The review for this guitar, the Harley Benton SC-DLX, doesn't belong to me, belongs to a friend of mine called Peter. The review for this is going up on Sunday at 5 p.m. UK time. So you can watch out for that. What else have I been missing? New comments, apparently, just in the chat. Buddy's brother-in-law probably bought 50 used Strats and sold them off as used by Buddy. Yeah, well, there are those kind of people all over the world, aren't there? Make that amp one a 3-parter. Yeah, it might have to be, mate, because I'm just off the top of my head, I'm thinking, Fender Bassman, Marshall JTM 45, Vox AC 30. There's 3 for the top, and that's without putting any thought into it. As soon as I kind of drill down into it, there's going to be many, many more amps. Mesa Boogie Mark 1, there's another game-changing amp. So, yes, indeed. That's one to think about. Yes, that's going to be a top 5 Tuesday, at least one episode of it. Anyway, chaps, we're at 59 minutes in, and I'm getting hungry, and there's a curry waiting downstairs to be warmed up. So, you know what this is all in aid of? I'm going to say that it has been a blast, as always. Thank you once again. 171 of you so far have turned up to watch a fat, bald northern lad talk bollocks for an hour. It's incredibly gratifying that you do this every week, and I'll keep on doing it till you're sick of me. But for now, time, gentlemen, please.